When we're worried about this and that, our attention goes to that which we're worried about. Our attention goes to this and that. And our attention goes to this and that because we don't realize we're the self. Because we don't realize we're the self, we start worrying about things in the world. So lack of self-knowledge, which is called ignorance, that's what ignorance means in Sanskrit. It's avidya. Vidya means knowledge. Avidya means lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge of the self. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the self. When you don't know what you are, then thoughts come. The cause of thoughts is ignorance. The cause of thought means movement. Thought means Maya. Thought means objects. The cause of objects is ignorance, Maya. When you know your nature is happiness and that you don't need to do anything to be what you are, to be happy, there's no need for thought. There's no need for movement. There's no need for objects. We just stay as ourselves. As soon as you think you're a person living in the world, you don't realize your immortal nature, your actual nature, then you start to worry. And you have to worry about this and that. And how can you have faith in anything deeply if we think that we are subject to birth and death and pleasure and pain and suffering, illness, injury? If we're worried about these things, how can we abide in the self? This is why Bhagavan tells us in the very first teaching verse of this beautiful, slim text, Guru Ramana Vachana Mala. Yes, Guru Ramana Vachana Mala. The very first teaching verse, which is verse 4. The first three verses are the introductory, what's it called? You know what I mean. Invocatory verses. And the first teaching verse says, it's verse 4, to become aware of the real self. To become aware of the real self, since he is ever present within the heart of everyone. To become aware of the real self, since he is ever present within the heart of everyone, would be very easy if the notion that the body and the world are real should become utterly extinct. It would be very easy to become aware of the real self if the notion that the body and the world are real should become utterly extinct. The notion that the body and world are real should become utterly extinct. It would be very easy to become aware of the real self. Our belief that the body and the world are real is called ignorance. You believe they're real, and then you believe you are one of them. The body and the world, you believe they're real, then you believe you're the body, and then the world is the environment. And then you become a little thing, the body, living in a big thing, the world. And of course, the world can present challenges and things your way, good things, bad things. So if the world can present me with good things or bad things, then what does that mean I have to do? It means I have to protect myself from the bad things and probably try and procure for myself the good things. And that is samsara. That is avidya. That is maya. That's what people call life or the human condition. But in the very first verse, this is a collection of Bhagavan's teachings as recorded by who? The pseudonym for Lakshmana Sarma. And Bhagavan helped Lakshmana Sarma with this text, helped him put it together. If you haven't got a copy, I highly recommend you get a copy. Okay. To become aware of the real self, and I'm skipping a phrase, to become aware of the real self would be very easy if the notion that the body and the world are real should become utterly extinct. The simplest way to do this is not to hold a belief. That is a way to do it. One way is you can try and convince yourself that they're not real and follow Bhagavan's instructions to us. That's fine. Simplest way is in stillness. Calm your mind, take it easy, chill out, be happy, relax, and go inwards. And you'll start to see the body, mind, and world start to become more transparent, almost evaporate in front of your eyes as the reality, the happiness, the bliss, the truth starts shining from within you. And this happiness doesn't rely on anything because it is your nature. We can say it relies on you not paying attention to the objects, the non-self, the illusion. But it doesn't really rely on anything. It's within you. You just have to come back to yourself. Bhagavan Ramana, his teachings make it so simple, so easy for us. He said, when you pay attention to objects, that's called suffering. When you go outside, that's called suffering. When you go within, which means when you stop paying attention to objects, when you go within, that is liberation. That is the self. Many people think within, I mean, maybe not people here, but many people think within means within the body. But within means be the pure consciousness that you are. You don't have to worry about being the pure consciousness that you are. You don't have to know anything about yourself verbally. All you have to do is chill out, relax, come home, and leave the apparent creation, which means body, mind, world, leave that to the creator, which we can personify as Bhagavan Ramana, or you can personify it however you want. Bhagavan used to say things like, whoever created the world, let them look after the world. Here, world means body, mind, world. Whoever created the world, let them look after the world. Let them do their thing, you do your thing. What's your thing? Be yourself. Come back to yourself. How do you do that? Well, you are the self. So there's nothing you need to do. You just need to stop going somewhere else. Stop taking yourself to be a person. Some people say, look at all this stuff. This is real. Look, I can feel it. Yeah, I can feel it. It's real. I can see it. It's real. The next teaching verse, second verse. There are loads of verses here. How many verses are there in this text? 349 verses, including the invocatory verses at the beginning and at the end. 3 invocatory verses at the beginning, 2 invocatory verses at the end. I guess they're not invocatory verses at the end. Celebratory verses. Concluding verses. The second teaching verse. Oh, man, who, believing the world to be real, has been cheated of happiness. Like the parrot that expected to eat the ripe fruit of the silk cotton tree. What proof have you that the world really exists? Does anyone remember the fruit of the silk cotton tree? The fruit of the silk cotton tree apparently is that, does it explain it anywhere here? It doesn't. I think I looked it up. Apparently you get these like bundles of silk. It looks like fruit or something. And so when a parrot or a bird, birds like to eat fruit often, parrots like to eat fruit. When they go and try and eat the fruit of the silk cotton tree, there's nothing inside. There's no nutrition. It's just a bundle of silk. There's nothing there. Nothing of any substance. Yeah. So this translation is obviously antiquated. Oh man. We can say, oh person. Oh person who, believing the world to be real, has been cheated of happiness, like the parrot that expected to eat the ripe fruit of the silk cotton tree. What proof have you that the world really exists? If you think the world is real, you're like the parrot looking for fruit in the silk tree. You know, you think it looks like something's juicy and tasty there, but when you poke your beak into it, there's nothing there. Just emptiness. There's no nourishment. Verse 6. If you think that this world is real because it appears, here we go. Think it appears, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can see it, I can taste it, I can hear it. if you think that this world is real because it appears, meaning you can perceive it in all its various ways, then you should conclude that mirage water is also real because it also appears. What difference is there between these two? I can see it, I can feel it, I can hear it. It's real. No, Bhagavan is saying. That means, is a dream real? Is a mirage real? Is a magician's trick real? Some people say that, and I think I don't know. Maybe I read into it too much, but I think some people are very proud when they say this. I'm sure some people are just saying it earnestly. Some people say, my spirituality is just being good to people, just being kind. That's my spirituality. You know, none of this stuff. None of this stuff. And these people have the high ground because this is the paradigm. You know, what can you say to that? You know, what, are you against kindness now? You against being nice to people? My spirituality is being good to people. Take that. You know, what are you going to say to me now? You know, now this is obviously wonderful teaching, actually. If someone says my spirituality is being kind to people, I'm thinking that's great. That's better than a lot of other types of spirituality or religion, right? That's pretty good. So, you know, let's give credit where credit's due. That's a wonderful way of living. But this is for people who are not fundamentally super interested in cessation of suffering or liberation or discovering a deeper truth. That is for people who fundamentally, that's an exceptional teaching, exceptionally good teaching for people who think the body, mind, and world are real. The problem with that teaching is that it's difficult to be kind unless you know the truth, because the world and so-called life will push you and pull you in directions. And eventually you come to a choice. Do I protect my body or do I protect another body? And if you think you're this body, it's very difficult to protect that body given a choice. That's what it comes down to in most cases, right? If you think you're a body mind and eventually life pushes you in a certain direction, eventually it's like, well, you know, do I look out for myself and my people, or do I sacrifice something to do with myself and my tribe to help another people or peoples? And then it becomes difficult. It's easy to be kind and help and good when if you have plenty of resources. In our society, it's typically money, but it might be psychological resources. It's very easy to be kind if you're well off, if you're wealthy, because it doesn't cost you much. So the irony of the idea that my spirituality is kindness is that only through this spirituality, the deeper spirituality, is kindness, does kindness actually truly become possible, because we go beyond the idea of I am a body, which is the root ignorance, the root sin, the cause of all evil. The root disease is the I'm the body idea, the I'm the body belief, the notion I am a person. That is the root of all evil, of all. That is the sin. That's the original sin. That's the root of all other sin. Like people like karma yoga. Karma yoga is when you say, um, you might say something like, God is doing all of this, and I accept everything that happens to me as God's will. And I am even of even mind. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world because I accept it's all happening with God because it's God's will. The problem is to be as long as the I am the body mind idea is there, which means as long as ignorance is there, that ignorance will prevent you from adopting that attitude because you think you're the body. So if something really bad's happening to the body, you're gonna probably freak out or take action. And you won't always be able to adopt that karma yoga attitude. And that's why to be the and Bhagwan Ramana pointed this out. He said to be the perfect karma yogi, you need the jnana, you need self-knowledge. And it's same with doing good works. To be kind, to be truly kind, you need jnana. Because only then can you really give of yourself if you want to, if that's the action that happens. Because you've gone beyond the body idea. So for most people, if you're worldly minded, if you think the body mind world is real, if you cannot hear Bhagwan's teaching to us that the body mind world essentially is unreal, then that might well limit you in your ability to go within. Because why? Because you're going to be thinking about this and that. Why? Because you think it's real. How can the verse 7, this is the fourth verse in the teaching. How can the world, which is diversified by space and time, mutable and transient? Mutable means changeable. Mutable and transient be real. How can the world, which is diversified by space and time, mutable and transient, be real? How can that world be real? That alone is real, which is eternal, unchanging, and beyond space and time. Nothing else. I love that bit at the end. Nothing else. Just making sure that ego doesn't try and slip in through the back door. How can the world, which is diversified by space and time, mutable and transient, be real? That alone is real, which is eternal, unchanging, and beyond space and time. Nothing else. Bhagavan's teaching to us. Verse 8. All this appears. That means all objects appear. All this, that means all this world, this body, mind world appears. All this appears whenever there is mental activity. That is, in the dream and waking states. Not only does it not appear in deep sleep, but it does not appear in the transcendental state. Transcendental state means self-realization, jnana, self-knowledge. Not only does it not, he's talking about the world, not only does it not appear in deep sleep, but it does not appear in the transcendental state where the self alone is. Sorry, where the self is alone and the mind is at rest. Therefore, it is unreal. The use of the word therefore implies logic and reason. What's the reason here? The reason is if in the state of self-realization, there is only the self without the body, without the mind, without the world, and that is the only reality, that means the body, mind, world must be unreal because they don't exist when the truth is known in truth. Who has written these teachings? Who has created these teachings? Who? This is why he went under the pseudonym. Who? Who has done it? Whose teachings are these? These are the heart's teachings. They're from ourself, which is the only teacher, the guru. This is from the self to the self. This is the teaching you have given yourself. Who has written this? Who? This is why it says, you can't see it, I know. At the bottom here, it says by who? It's by you. You have written this teaching for yourself. That is what Bhagavan is. Bhagavan, Ramana, is you. Please don't say, oh, I'm not self-realized or I haven't got it yet. Please don't say that. Or please don't say, you know what, this Christmas, this autumn, I've got free time. I've got 3 months. I've got 4 months. I've got 6 weeks. I've got 6 months. I'm gonna do some serious self-inquiry, man. I'm gonna crack this nut. You know, I'm gonna sort this thing out, man. That's what I was like. 10 years later, you know. That's what my kids say. Have you seen those memes where it goes like 3 years later or something like that? Is it SpongeBob? I don't know what it is. Why should we not have this attitude? Oh, I'm not there yet. I haven't got it. Oh, I'm not realized yet. I don't get it yet. I'm so humble. We don't, humility of the ego has no place here. We don't want to be humble egos. That has no place. Humility in that sense, there's no space for it here. It doesn't help you. That's the false modesty, you know? That doesn't help you. What we need is true humility, which means it's total surrender to Bhagavan. Be yourself. Take your place, metaphorically speaking, you know, by the right hand side of God or whatever. You know, take your place on the throne. This is the true humility. Do not take yourself to be a body mind in a world and be what you actually are. Don't think, oh, 6 months' time, I'm going to get it with all this practice. You need to do the practice, but it comes from this understanding, or it comes from this feeling, this sense. Oh, yes, I am not this body mind. I am spirit. I am God. I am divine. That is what I am. Let me be what I am. Let me be that. This kind of thing. You find your own way. I'm giving you some words. So there's nothing you have to do to be the self, right? But to realize the self, you have to do nothing. And that is why effort is needed on the path. Because there's nothing you need to do to be the self. But as long as you're doing something, you're engaged in Maya objects. And that is the veil that prevents the self from being realized. So to know the self, to be the self, you have to do nothing. And the only way to do nothing is to go back to what you are. Because to do nothing means no movement. Doing something means movement, right? Do nothing means no movement. There's only one thing that's not moving. It's the self. So the only way to do nothing is to go back to yourself. This is called self-inquiry or self-surrender or turning inwards or being what you are or just being or being as you are. Because of the habitual tendency to identify as the body mind and think you're in a world, we keep on imagining, we keep on falling into this dream because we forget what we are. We keep on falling into this dream. But don't forget what you are. Come back to yourself. Who am I? What am I? And then go back to your intuitive inner knowing, which is always there. Chill out, relax, and be happy. Be yourself. Some of you might need to do some preliminary practices first for a little bit. Some chanting, watching the breath. These are, maybe find your own way. Maybe you do some yoga, physical yoga, I mean, hatha yoga. Okay, so let's have a little bit of silence and then I'll see if anybody has any. We'll invite questions, essentially.